Well, hey, Gundam fans, welcome to another episode of Gundam Explained. With this video, we're continuing our look at 08th MS Team. We're actually on the 10th episode, and this is a two-parter. This one's called the Shuddering Mountain Part 1. You know, from what we know from the previous episodes, the bond between Aina and Shiro is growing stronger, yet a little more controversial within the ranks of Earth Federation and Zeon. Guineas killed off Yuri to make sure that he doesn't stop work on the Obsolus. He wants to get that out there. And according to Earth Federation simulations, the Obsolus would destroy Jaburo. And that was based on the data from the Obsolus 1 and 2. So we're going to get a surprise showing of a new Obsolus in this one. Hey, but before we get started, if you haven't, please subscribe. And as you're watching this video and it seems pretty cool, give it a like. But yeah, let's get started. A great way to open a Gundam show, in my opinion. I'm a fan of fighters. Jet fighters, jets, space fighters, that type of stuff. We're seeing these jet boosters here, and they look amazing. And just seeing how many, like just looking in the background and looking at how many they have on here, that's pretty awesome. Looks like they're dropping potentially a bomb of some kind. So another function that we're learning about within 08th MS Team. So wherever they're bombing, which happens to be at a mountain, we're now getting a view underneath of what the Zeons are working on. Perhaps the Obsolus 3, and there's some shaking going on because of the bombs. So the Earth Federation knows where this is at, and they're trying to stop it. Okay, so this is just awesome. The guy is just in his jet booster, but he's looking around talking, and then in front of him, this Gouf just appears up in the sky. But very awesome and cool sequence that's coming up here. So the Gouf Custom just destroyed a fighter, cut off its wing, and it's flying down. And then I just love how you see all these other fighters. I just love the visuals here. I mean, the thing is just hanging with its hook off a jet booster and just shooting, holding the sword. This is awesome. So pretty cool here because we're seeing some of the desert type ground GMs here. Okay, we got a Zaku 2, Gouf, and a Dom. I love seeing kind of, you know, some of the main Zeon units as they're trying to defend the secret mountain base, because this is where that Obsolus 3 is. Guineas and Aina are still there. Mikkel and Elidor, they're at their hover tank, and they've got another tank there. They're going to help provide the coordinates for them to fire on the mountain base that the Federation forces discovered. Now, they even made mention of the mountain taking a different shape because of all the bombing that was going on. And here is just a great shot, something that could be a wallpaper. Seeing in this art style the detailed scenes that they have in 08th MS Team, you know, we've got the Zaku's there, Dom, and the Gouf Custom. When you could tell when an episode has budget for its animation and how these things are drawn. And this is a good example of an episode that does things well. Norris Packard, he's the pilot of the Gouf Custom, and he's saying some good things about Aina. He's like the good guy among the bad guys, right? Even from before, the way he reacted to some of Guineas' plans, the way he looks after Aina, he seems like a good guy. Very similar to Rambo Rawl, who was also in a Gouf from the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Interesting that the voice actor is the same voice actor in terms of the English voice acting. It could have been around the same time when they were hiring the voice actors for Gundam Works, and I'm sure they kept in contact with some across. Now, I didn't look up the reasoning for it, but I just think it's very interesting that this character type has the same voice actor and they're in the same similar mobile suit. So I don't know if there's more of a connection, if that was on purpose or accident, or they just went with it because it's similar. Curious if anyone has any information on that. Now, as for the Gouf Custom, I mean, the Gouf from the original Mobile Suit Gundam, it was already an awesome mobile suit. They did a few things here to modernize it, kind of stylizing it more, I guess, the scale of the certain components to it. And we see like the hand gun it has. It's different than it being just that giant hand that looked a little goofy. Goof. From the original. And like what we're seeing here is it looks like it's an add-on part to it. And it still has like its sword, its grappling hook that provides an electric shock. So it still has a lot of those same elements from the original Gouf. Okay, the Gouf Custom featured multiple changes to the MSO7B, including the elimination of the awkward 5-finger 75mm machine guns, replacing it with a normal manipulator and a wrist-mounted 3-barrel 35mm machine gun. The coil-like heat rod is replaced with a magnetic grappler wire that connects and disables an enemy with an electric charge rather than damaging them. The grappler wire could also be used as a repelling line that could slow or even half the descent of a falling Gouf in the right conditions. The shield of the Gouf was modified so that it not only stored the Gouf's heat sword, but it is also capable of carrying a 75mm Gatling gun, greatly enhancing the mobile suit's firepower. So, not only that, but what we'll see later on with this Gouf Custom is its movability. It's got, some standard thrusters that a Gouf would have. But, they talked about some things here that kind of, make it effective for its agile movement on ground combat. I mean, this is a ground-based sort of series. And when we saw the Gouf before in Mobile Suit Gundam, it was in some ground-based combat. But regardless of that, between the hook and its thrusters, it can maneuver quite well on the ground. So another thing on here is for story reasons, but the Gouf Custom unit, piloted by Norris Packard, features a flare launcher which is installed at the back of the mobile suit. The flare fired from the launcher is for signaling friendly forces nearby, and there is a story reason we'll get to here shortly. Cool shot of 7th Team entering the mountain base. It seems like there's some executive level fighting here on where to proceed. Within this mountain base, there are some bombs that need to be disarmed, but they're wanting to... Kojima doesn't want to push further, doesn't want to lose any more mobile suits, but no, he's kind of been ordered to just keep pushing through regardless of what happens. It might end up being that in order to get to where they need to, they just need to destroy the entire mountain. That might require nuclear missile, and it might even just be done by the reactors of the mobile suits as they're destroyed in there. So it's almost like they're being sent to their death. Kind of disturbing. 6 shot of these snipers here standing there. I just love the way that looks. And we can kind of see in the mountain up that little glow up on the top left. I guess that's where a mobile suit, I guess it blew up, but I think they say that it didn't have a meltdown. The actual nuke didn't go off. Now, this is cool looking.
Let them come out.
And there you go. Just sick seeing the Easy-8 because it looks great. Fighting the Zakutus when we see some really top-notch animation there. And I like how it's not beam weaponry that he was using. It was kind of the standard issue machine gun. And there's a skatey boy skating in with the flare. Reminds me of something I use in GBO2 regularly. 6 shot right there. So look at that. Like, she can see out of her cockpit the heat blade, I forget what they call it, and holding it up right over her, about to like stab right into there. That is pretty scary. I just wanted to shout out the Zanzibar class, the Kurgan ship. That's what they're trying to use to escape in this mountain base. So, I mean, this is something we saw from Mobile Suit Gundam, but this is the specific version that's an 08 MS team. And it's cool here. They're having this talk, Ina and Packard, and he... I guess they're kind of having a heart-to-heart. He says he cares about her, and she's talking about how, well, he could detect that she must be in love with the way she's acting. And then she says, yeah, that's true. And then she's telling him how she looks to him like a father, and that just is exactly what he wanted to hear. That's how he's felt. And that makes him so happy that he decides he's going to go out there and he's going to defend this base, even if that means he dies. And so it's kind of shocking because that is exactly what Ina does not want to have happen. And so the fact that she then decided to be that personal with him and share her feelings in that way, that made him feel like he needs to stand up and protect her for that. It's kind of an interesting dynamic here that we didn't really expect. Just another cool shot here. See the Gouf Custom standing there. We see another mobile suit in front. Which mobile suit is that? I think we're going to find out here shortly. But again, I can't stop praising the way these shots are composed. Okay, so since Norris Packard has decided to go out into battle, and she didn't want that to happen, it's like she's going into evil mode, right? Where she's got to do what she's got to do. um, to save him, but she doesn't want to fight because she doesn't want to have to fight Shiro. So yeah, it gets pretty complex. I like how they have the team out on the surface. They're kind of positioned in certain areas, and then Mikkel and Elidor, that they're in their hover tank, and they're like hearing something. They're like, "It's an elevator. It's coming up fast," which is kind of a cool entrance for the Gouf. Just look at that great shot. It just comes up out of the ground as fast as possible, ready to take on the team, and it just looks fantastic. And this is where you can see with the shield, and it has that attachment. That's actually a Gatling gun on there, so it's cool that it's got all that going on. I just wanted to point out, we see Karen. She's in. You remember, she's been damaged in her mobile suit. The mobile suit took some damage before that she had. So this one is that ground Gundam type, but it's actually got a GM head. So it's kind of interesting. I love when it stabbed the tank with its sword. You kind of see the oil or whatever, like kind of shoot up and splash on its face like blood or something like that. Very cool imagery. While that fight's happening on the surface, it goes back to underground where the Obsolus is, and Guineas is standing around with a bunch of scientists. I guess they're having a release party. Oh, look at that in the back. DirectX SDK, AMD K6 3D. That's fast ADA too. That's pretty funny how it has just some random stuff. But he I guess, yeah, they're having a release party for the Obsolus 3, and they all take a sip from the drink he's passed out. But it kills them all. It ends up being where he is the only one that has any ownership over the Obsolus itself. Now, I think that's pretty interesting, because especially if Aina gets back into it, does she even know that he killed all the scientists? Just some more cool action. Again, this episode is really all about the action. It's really hard to sit and talk in depth about a lot of story elements, because really this has taken the story elements and became the action set piece of the series, one of. But right now we're having Shiro and the EZ8 versus Norris in the Gouf Custom, and it's just a great fight scene. Very cool. I love, especially when we get a sense of scale. Shiro and his EZ8 is falling to the side, but we can kind of see, the streets and the buildings and the electrical wires above that kind of help give the scale of, this mobile suit battle that's occurring. So at this point, Norris Packard has set off the flare, and it's red. And that's really saying, hey, I'm going to be behind. Go ahead and go. Aina gets word of that, and, she's not too happy about that, because she did not want this to happen. She doesn't want to lose Packard. So an interesting confrontation happens here where Shiro's just saying out loud how he doesn't want to lose Aina. And then, Norris, in his mobile suit, hears that, and he's like, so you're the one that she's fallen in love with. And Shiro is using his disabled arm to fight against the Gouf. It's kind of crazy, but I guess it works. Yeah, so, and because he mentioned he wants to marry Aina, it caught Norris Packard off guard, and he got slapped in the face with his, with that Gundam arm. So, kind of funny. Okay, yeah, and the Gouf Custom with Norris Packard just takes off after, he gets the information. And it's kind of interesting. Is he just trying to flee because he doesn't want to kill that guy that Aina loves? It's interesting. So look, we got these two mobile suits that are coming up with the Obsolus 3. So let's take a look at them. This is the MS-07H8 Gouf flight type. So what's really cool is just to see further use of the Gouf, other than the Gouf Custom being kind of that flagship from Norris Packard, and actually with the rest of the Zeon soldiers down there, really, if you think about it. And then you get this one, which is awesome. Now, it's a Gouf. What's interesting, in flight type also, so it's got some extra, maybe thrusters and exhaust that's used to help it navigate the ground, but also the shoulders. Now, that looks very interesting. That's the same thing we see from the GP01FB. So that is the GP01 that is made, for more space. Yeah, I think it was a full burner, I believe, something like that. It was made to be used in space combat or flying around a lot more. It's got that same thing, except this is like on the shoulders themselves instead of like an extra part to it. So I wonder if it's kind of related. So it's just very interesting to see Ina at this point because she's just monotone, firing. And like she's that angry, I guess. Between Shiro and Norris Packard, those two were the triggers for her decisions that she does. It's very interesting. Is there any brainwashing done to her on Guinea's part? Does she know that Guineas killed all the scientists? Did she just overlook that? Maybe she didn't come across them, but making sure that everyone gets out alive after she found out that he was drugging. I don't know. There's a lot going on here, but maybe I shouldn't be looking too much into the details. All right, here we go. Opposites 3, it's about to fire. Some things I read about this is it used the data from the first and second to create the third. One of the things was to help when it was in flight. One of the issues I think Opposites 2 had was when it wasn't able to stay in the air and it had to crash land. It's got 2 Minovsky flight systems on either side, but it also still has the beam cannon, a mega particle cannon, but I think it's used in a way where it can move around and select specific targets. So, like, look at that, just moving around, just destroying everything. Okay, just got to say that's a cool shot of the EZ-8. Got to get a Robot Spirits one of that. But if we were to look at the Opposites 3 real quick, flight mode, rear flight mode, it's very interesting because not only was this made from the flight or test data of the first 2, but it was the data of the first 2 that made the simulation that the Jabber base would be destroyed by the first or second one, not the third one. So this third one getting out could have really decimated the Earth Federation. And obviously, it seems somehow the Federation was able to stop it. It commences the awesome 1v1 with Shiro, Norris. Shiro's missing an arm. So you would think then the Gouf Custom would have a leg up in this, but let's see what happens. Cuts him right in half. It's kind of a bittersweet ending to it, too. It's like you see Shiro in shock, but it was like as he was cutting the Gouf in half, the Gouf was still able to shoot and fire at the tank behind there, killing those pilots as well. Awesome shot. He was saluting. I love the cockpit is open. Again, the detail to really show off the scale. Whoa. So Shiro at the end's like, I'm leaving the service. I guess he just got tired of people just getting killed, people just dying. As good as a leader as he seemed to be, and I think it's because he wanted to keep people alive, and that worked out. He just doesn't want to see any more death. I'm just assuming that. To be conducted. But no, this is part 1, so obviously part 2. All right, so there we go with a very fun episode of 8th MS Team. We are seeing the characters at their wits' end. Awesome Cityscape battle. Not only are we seeing Doms and Zaku's, but that Gouf Custom. Highly detailed fight scenes occurring where guns are shooting at armor, and we're seeing the detail, the animation. This is just a great episode to watch, and even the thematic ways in which the characters progressed here, or the mobile suits. I love the elevator scene where the guys in the hover tank are like, it's coming up an elevator, and it just comes out of the ground. And then Shiro also being disabled, the left arm because of the Gouf Customs wire. And then he was using it to kind of block then because he couldn't use it. And then eventually he took it off to use to fight with. That's just amazing stuff. So anyway, yeah, let me know what you think in the comments of this episode. Again, I thought it was super awesome. Curious what you think. And yeah, we'll talk again later. Thanks.